straight away for me, it was like, oh, I'm actually good at something in my life. Like
Okay, it was like the validation.
exactly. Like
Okay.
I lived a life of self-hate.
We are going to be discussing eating disorders and disordered eating. So if that is something that upsets you or distresses you, maybe you feel that you need to step away from the radio for a few minutes, and that is absolutely okay. But it is something very important to talk about, because this time of year can feel impossible, whether it's the mountain of food around the house or the fitness flurry in January. It is tricky for a lot of us to navigate, but I think particularly if you are living with an eating disorder, it can be especially troubling. It's estimated that 1 in 20 people in Ireland experience an eating disorder in their lives, and we're joined this morning by someone who has been through it. Good morning, Sean Blake. Great to see you.
Hey, thanks very much for having me.
Sorry if you jump into the microphone a little bit more there. Lovely to have you with us this morning. How are you?
I'm good this morning, and thanks very much for having us. It's really, really important.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. So let's start with the question, how are you doing personally now?
Doing good, yeah, doing good. Kind of, I consider myself in recovery because, like, you know, it's really important to know that eating disorders, they're not about weight, they're not about what we look like, they're not about anything like that. It's a deeper pain. For me, certainly it was a much deeper thing, and it's just kind of for me, it was kind of a coping mechanism. But like, it could have been anything. I often say if it hadn't been an eating disorder, it would have been something else.
Yeah. And I mean, does it bother you? Because I'm looking at you now, and I think that's the big misconception for a lot of people, that, you know, people might have a misconception about what somebody with an eating disorder looks like. For you, you look fit and healthy. So can you tell me when it all started for you?
Yeah, well, I suppose it goes, for me, I could write a book on it at this stage. It goes like a lot deeper until when I was younger. But I suppose if I want to bring it up to when leading up to the anorexia, it was about 2012, I would have started doing a bit of exercise, doing a bit of running. And then inevitably all the comments come in about how great I am and how I'm doing really well. And of course, you know, you're losing weight and things like that. So straight away for me, it was like, oh, I'm actually good at something in my life. Like
it was like the validation.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
I lived a life of self-hate. I absolutely hated myself from as far as I remember. I couldn't look at a picture of myself even. And when this happened, when I was getting this validation as such, I suppose it was like, look, I'm worthy of life in my head, and I'm really, really good at something now, and no one can take that from me. So I suppose it kind of went from going out doing a run the odd time, and then of course it kind of spiraled into, you know, increasing that running, and then people would comment on, oh, you know, again, you're looking great and that. And the problem with that is that the next time I see that person, if they don't say that, in my head, I'm not doing what I should have been doing. And then it goes further and further down as things get worse. And if someone looked at me the wrong way, I'd interpret that as, oh, I'm not working hard like I should be. So then I was bought into the social narrative that we all, you know, about calories and you shouldn't eat this, good foods, bad foods.
Yeah.
And calorie count and the whole lot. And then eventually, like, it just came down to my diet was the same thing, eating the same thing, because that was my safe food as such. So the running increased and increased. I'd be up at 5 a.m. I'd run all times a year, no matter what it was, if I was injured even. And I would have to run. If I didn't get out running in the morning, I would be full of anxiety. And it got to it was like an addiction, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
And it just became so obsessive. I mean, I remember being in Swords one morning going for a run. It was freezing cold, and I just started crying because I thought to myself, I can't stop this, and I need to stop this, but I just couldn't. Things got so bad that my memory was going. I nearly couldn't walk upstairs even. It just affected family life massively, like, you know.
And you see, I think that would be like surprising for a lot of people, because, you know, for you it was the obsession around exercise, which was tied into your eating.
Yeah.
But that's how it can manifest itself as well. It's an obsession, not just necessarily around food, but how it can manifest itself in other aspects of your life.
Yeah, like that, and that is the thing. I suppose there is that misconception about eating disorders, as you've said. And like with me, I suppose it was with the running thing. Like, it started off again with weighing myself and stuff like that, all the usual things. And, you know, I'd have food, like, I'd nearly convince myself that certain foods would affect my stomach. And the exercise, I suppose one of the things I did it in isolation. I did it on my own. So my running, as I said, I would get up at 5 and I'd run for hours and hours. And I used to say it was because I didn't want it to affect family life, but it was really so I could do it without anyone seeing how much I was actually doing. And again,
because tell me about your family. You've a family, you've kids, you've a wife.
Yeah, I've 4 kids and a wife. My wife is a primary school principal of quite a big school in Swords, so like it's hectic for her as it is. So family life for me, as sad as it is to say, I missed out on a lot. because everything was really holidays. For example, I didn't eat out with my kids until I started in recovery, so they wouldn't have known me to eat out in a restaurant with them. Holidays, like we went to Central Parks one year and I was up at 5 in the morning again, running around for hours on end. I went to Kerry one year and it was a rural area and I ran up and down a hill for hours because that's how bad it was. Even like my wife she knew because it had gone back a few years where we'd gone to the doctor and it kind of wasn't seen for what it was. But Edel, my wife, was smart enough to know that by telling me to eat and telling me to do all these things, it wasn't going to help. It wasn't going to make a difference. That it was much deeper.
And did you know, Sean, that it was anorexia? Like, when did you know? Did you always know, or?
No, I like for years I went on and I just maintained it. I didn't actually know, and Edel had spotted it, and I went to the GP, and the GP had said it was kind of just me being healthy, so I was happy with that. And then fast forward a couple of years, I kind of got to realise what I was doing because I heard other people talking about their lived experience and things they might have done, and then I kind of realised, and I went to Edel one day and I just said to her, I didn't know what to say, so I just said I think of a problem with food. That's all I knew what to say. So I went back to a GP and she could see there was obviously a problem, and I ended up being referred to St. Pat's. So I went into St. Pat's and they did an assessment on me and pretty much said to me that they diagnosed me with anorexia and said I needed to come into them as an inpatient straight away. So for a long time I didn't know. But then as things went on and on, I did know, myself.
And St. Pat's, I know they do incredible work. Really, like their inpatient programs are so good, as are their outpatient programs, and they're dealing with an awful lot of people. Can you talk about your experience in there and how it was for you?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, I'd never been in hospital in my life, and when I heard St. Pat's, look, people always have that thing when they hear about St. Pat's.
Yeah.
I went in. I did. When I went in on the day, I left it was really hard. I left my family. I left my wife. We went in. The kids were dropped off in their nana's house. Me and Edel went in, and very quickly I was taken in for the assessment and checking in and all that. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. The eating disorder ward is kind of in isolation on its own, right, from everywhere else. So. I just remember sitting there thinking, what's going on? Like I just broke down. I cried for days. It was so hard. I didn't know what to do. Like I was like, what's going on? How has this happened? And it's a strict enough kind of routine because it has to be. But I tried to leave a number of times, but lucky enough I didn't.
Can I ask you what the ratio for men to women were in there?
There was 12 beds in the Clara ward, and I was the only male.
Yeah.
So like the range, like there was girls from the age of 19 up to women my own age nearly. But at the time, look, being honest, I didn't care. It didn't bother me in any way. I was just so sick. They were all incredible, absolutely incredible. Probably some of them had to be so mature beyond their years because of everything they've been through. They had been stopped in their careers, in their college work because of these eating disorder. They couldn't do what they should have been doing. So I think we lose so many people because of it as well, because of that.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, when I watched the documentary Anorexia, My Family, Me, which you appeared in, it was so refreshing to see a man speaking honestly and openly in the way that you are chatting to me now, because we don't hear it as much. And did you get what sort of a reaction did you get when that show went on air?
Oh, I got a really good reaction. I haven't had any negative kind of feedback or anything like that from anyone. Yeah. It was just admiration, really. And I did have a few men come to me and say, look, they think they might have had a problem. And I had one or two people who taught people in their families with the exercise, because I think it's a lot more widespread than we think. And I think I highlighted that exercise is a big part of eating disorders as well. There was an episode of Gogglebox that covered my story that actually kind of hit me hard because it showed the comments of people because it was my story that was shown. But actually on reflection now, I see it's actually a good thing, because it did, again, I highlighted that and it showed how, people don't expect a man of my age, as someone has said in it, to have anorexia. So I can actually look at that clip now and I think it's really good and informative.
And you see, here's, like, I think we have to be very careful with what we say and our words and our language that's used, and people, I think, are mindful, but sometimes people don't really understand when they say what they say, how it can impact somebody. So what would you say to somebody who has a loved one who they feel is struggling with disordered eating or anorexia or bulimia? What advice would you have in terms of how to approach that? And I know it's very individual, so it's hard to say, but
yeah, what I would say is I'd say learn as much about eating disorders as you can. Bodywhys, the Eating Disorder Association of Ireland, they have great information on actually how to approach people and the signs and symptoms, and also they have a great guide on over Christmas. But what I would say is I definitely wouldn't be telling people, like, you know, by telling someone with an eating disorder, like I'm just saying anorexia specifically here, by telling them they need to start eating, that's not going to work. Like I would have rather, like if I hadn't got in the same path when I did, I wouldn't be here right now, because you know, as hard as it is to say, I would have rather not have been here than have given it up, because in my head I wasn't worthy of anything. You know, I wasn't good enough for anyone, so they were better off without me. So it's really important when you're approaching these things to remember that if it's an anorexia, they can't just stop exercising, they can't just start eating. It's much deeper than that. So it's to learn the right language, as you said. Like, you know, don't make comments on people's weight. Don't say, oh, you know, you're looking great, you know, you're putting on weight, or you're filling out, or as someone said to me, like, you know, you might be, you know, you're bulking up, or you're going to the gym. Like, to me, that would have been my worst nightmare. So stay away from any comments on body image or anything like that, and just try to kind of, I suppose, try to be very sensitive around it. And but it is important to approach the person. But again, Mental Health First Aid Ireland have a great guide as well on their kind of approach to these things. But certainly just be sensitive, and, you know, don't say, you know, you need to eat or you need to do this. Just remember that it is a serious illness, and it's not just something that is going to, you know, by you telling someone they need to eat or whatever it is going to work, because that's just not how it happens, you know.
And for somebody who is listening who maybe is struggling themselves, how do they get over, how do they just break the barrier of the silence, of the denial, of the hiding, I suppose, and reach out, because that's really what it's about.
Yeah, and that is the really important thing, because, to be honest, from my own experience, if I had have done that earlier, I may not have got to the point where I was at. I'd say reach out to someone close to you who understands. It's really important to try and find someone who does understand, because, I mean, if you go to someone who doesn't and they try and kind of fob it off, or they say the wrong things, it can really affect you. Again, I'd say Bodywhys is a great place to go to first. Also Shine Mental Health as well. They've loads of information on things like that. So I just would try and find that person who you know is going to understand and is going to be sensitive about it. Even reading up yourself about it. I mean, for me, a lot of the reading I did on it as well kind of made me realise that I did have a problem and that I needed to look at it. But it's really just to remember that there is hope there. When I went into St. Pat's, I didn't know what recovery meant even. And right, I'm doing so much now. It's like being born again, I always say, to be honest with you. So, yeah, life is kind of beginning now for me in a lot of ways.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. Delighted to hear that. And can I ask you just very quickly, you've got 4 kids, and your daughter is 13?
My son is 13. Yeah.
And do they understand? Have you spoken to them about it, or?
Yes, because they were in the documentary. Yeah. So we did speak to them about it, but I suppose they don't really, because I'd be very open with them about mental health, because it's really, really important. Because again, when kids are that young, especially with school and stuff, if they keep things in and they you know, they can build up, and it can lead to so many problems. I mean, I do worry about because of myself, and I maybe I'm a bit too oversensitive to certain things, like with the kids, like one of my kids would have come home asking about calories and stuff like that from school, and that's not good. You know, so I can be very sensitive to those things. So we do talk about them, but yeah, they do understand it. But again, they're kind of used to me kind of doing certain things. Like, I know when the documentary was on, and like there was an ad for it again, and Chloe, my little girl, just shouted up, "Daddy, you're on the television again." So it's not really as big a thing for them, you know.
Yeah. But you're very much in the position to be able to have those open conversations around mental health, and it's so great to see you doing so well. And thank you so much for shining a light, and particularly for men as well. I think it's really, really important. And Bodywhys, which Sean was talking about, is the Eating Disorders Association of Ireland, and it's Bodywhys, BODYWHYS.ie, Bodywhys, for help and guidance. Listen, thanks a million for coming in this morning, and have a great Christmas.
No problem. Thank you.